SynthStories starts right now.
Am I the a-hole ruined the gender reveal after girlfriend publicly accused me of cheating on her? I, 19 male, let go of the gender reveal balloon before my, now ex-girlfriend, 19 female, could pop the balloon after she included in her speech before popping the balloon that I had cheated on her with her cousin, 24 female. She claimed that she saw the messages to her cousin about us meeting up in private. True, I did ask, but that was to get help with looking for a necklace as a push present. Pregnancy has been really hard on her and I wanted to give her something to show my appreciation. She humiliated me in front of our friends and family. I felt trapped. People were confused and some, mostly her 4 brothers, were giving me dirty looks. I let go of the balloon and told her if she really thought that low of me, then I don't know if I could continue being in a romantic relationship with her. I grabbed my things and asked my parents if they wanted to meet me at home so I could tell them the truth. Her friends and family don't matter to me. They can hear it from her cousin who was also humiliated. This happened Friday. I still have the necklace and I don't know what to do with it. I might hold on to it for my daughter. I found out the gender from my mom after I cleared up the confusion. Part of me feels like an a-hole for not being willing to talk about it with her. I'm also upset with myself for ruining the reveal for my parents. They are excited to be grandparents. I can't believe she thought I would cheat on her. Am I the a-hole for ruining the gender reveal party?
My mother-in-law caused drama at our wedding, and my husband says I'm overreacting. How do I explain how much this hurt me without making it worse? I, 28 female, married my husband, 30 male, last weekend. The ceremony was beautiful, and I really wanted the whole day to feel peaceful and joyful. Unfortunately, his mom caused some issues during the reception, and now my husband and I are arguing about how to handle it. For context, my mother-in-law, Carol, and my mom have always had a weird tension between them. Nothing explosive, just subtle competitiveness and passive comments. I honestly thought everyone would be on their best behavior for the wedding. But during the reception, Carol made an unscheduled toast. It started fine, "We're so proud of Jake, we love Emma," but then she added, "I just hope she can take care of Jake the way I always have." Everyone laughed uncomfortably. I was embarrassed, but I let it go. Later that night, the wedding cake was brought out, except part of it was already missing. Turns out, Carol had taken a piece before we even did the cake cutting. She told the coordinator, "I paid for part of this wedding, I can eat when I want." I asked the coordinator to quietly switch to the backup sheet cake instead of making a scene. Carol apparently got upset about this, started crying, and told my husband I embarrassed her. My husband spent the next half hour calming her down while I sat alone waiting for him. Afterward, I tried to talk to him about how hurt I was, not just by what she did, but by how quickly he took her side. He said I'm overreacting, that she didn't mean it, and that she was just nervous. I don't know how to make him understand that this isn't about cake, it's about feeling disrespected and unsupported on our day. How can I approach this conversation again in a way that helps him see my perspective without it turning into another argument? I want to set healthy boundaries early, but I also don't want to start our marriage with constant tension around his mom. Too long, didn't read, my mother-in-law made a passive-aggressive toast and cut into our wedding cake before the ceremony. My husband defended her and says I'm overreacting. I feel hurt and unsupported. How do I talk to him about it without escalating things?
Am I the a-hole for asking my girlfriend's brother what kind of a man he is? My 34 male girlfriend, Laura, 30 female, and I got into a huge argument because of something I said to her younger brother, Randall, 22 male. For context, Randall lives with their sister, Anna, 29 female. Anna had a big grocery haul today and her van recently kicked the bucket, so Laura and I offered to take her. We drove her to the store, helped with the shopping, and loaded everything into my car. On the drive back, Randall texted Anna asking if she could pick them up some takeout on him. Anna agreed, so we made an extra stop to get their food. The plan was, when we got to their apartment building, Randall would come down to the lobby to help us bring up all the groceries and his takeout. This was agreed upon when we went to get the takeout because the parking is a pain and it's a lot to carry alone. We pull up, text him, then call him. No answer. We call again. Nothing. We parked the car properly, which meant Anna, Laura, and I had to make multiple trips from the parking lot to the lobby and then up to the apartment, lugging all the groceries and the takeout. I'm the first to get to the door with my hands full with a box and 2 bags. I'm able to knock, and he unlocks the deadbolt without opening the door. This really pissed me off. I open the door for all of us and set the box and bags down. I then ask him what happened, and he just shrugged and said, "Oh, my phone was on silent, sorry." This is the second time he's pulled this exact same shit. Last time I gave him a sarcastic response about it, like how convenient that you couldn't hear the phone glued to your hand, when he gave us the same lame excuse. But this time, I was fed up. I was tired from carrying everything, and I was annoyed for Anna and Laura, who just accept this from him. I looked at him and said, "Seriously, Randall, what kind of man sits on his ass while his sister and everyone else carries his responsibilities for him?" Randall didn't say anything and just left the room. Laura immediately shot me a death glare. After we left the apartment and were back in the car, she laid into me. She said I out of line, that it wasn't my place to talk to her brother like that, and that my comment was toxic and emasculating. We argued the whole way home. I told her that she and her family coddle him too much, and that he's never going to learn if no one holds him accountable. When we got home and we'd both cooled down a bit, I explained my side more calmly. I said that what he did was deeply disrespectful to her, Anna who houses him, and to me. He knew we would end up doing the work if he ignored his phone, and he made that choice because he's lazy and there are never any consequences. Laura was able to see my point of view in this one. At least that's what she tells me. I started thinking, though, am I the a-hole here? Was I an asshole for saying what I said, or was it a justified call-out for his disrespectful behavior?
Me 45 female with my daughters 17 female and 16 female. I like one more than the other and I'm having trouble not showing favoritism. I made this account a while ago to comment on a post, so I figure it'd be good to use as a throwaway for this. So my daughters were born pretty damn close together. Their birthdays are only 10 months apart because I got pregnant pretty much immediately after having the other. Their entire lives they have always been best friends. My eldest is Sam, 17, and the year below is Izzy, 16. These girls have been absolutely inseparable since Izzy was born. They'd read each other's stories, play with their dolls, do each other's hair, held hands everywhere they went together, and they look incredibly alike too. People have mistaken them for twins when they were younger. We've always had a pretty tight-knit family, me, husband and the girls. We have family film/game nights and regularly take trips together. These girls are my entire world and I'm feeling absolutely riddled with guilt over the last 2 years because I'm really starting to dislike my youngest, Izzy. Obviously they weren't going to stay the same forever. From the age of about 13 onwards was when they both really started to diverge with their personalities. I completely expected and thought I was prepared for this. I can still remember when I first started to feel like I was becoming my own person, and I know it's a confusing/emotional roller coaster for teens, so I try to be as open and understanding as possible in regards to their choices. Both girls are currently doing their A-levels in college, UK. Sam is studying biology, chemistry, mathematics, and some kind of animal welfare subject. Her goal is to go into veterinary course at university, and she currently volunteers at our local vets helping out with the animals. She's always been a sweet girly girl, and only got more feminine as she entered her teenage years. I'm also rather girly, and me and Sam regularly go get our nails/hair done together, go shopping, and enjoy baking together. At the end of each day at school she'll come home and make us both a cup of tea, and we'll chat about how our days went. Boys, she's interested in her classes, drama with her friends, etc. She's by no means the popular girl at school but has a group of about 10 close-knit friends that she hangs out with a lot, and often the girls will sleep over at my house, do each other's makeup, even join us on our movie nights. Sam is by no means shy, but hates making people upset, so will avoid confrontation like the plague. Izzy, on the other hand, has begun to get very involved in political issues and current events. She lives off of the news channel, and is always passionate about some cause or another. She gets along rather well with her father in this aspect, as they like to debate about the government and upcoming policies. She means well in her arguments but can be a bit opinionated at times, and when someone disagrees with her, instead of calling peace and agreeing to disagree, she likes to keep the discussion going until she understands why someone thinks like they do. I understand that she's curious about how the world works, and I won't squash that, but it does get a bit tedious hearing "but why" to everything we talk about. She's currently studying politics, psychology, business, and economics as her A-level subjects. She doesn't really have any friends from school, and lives on websites like Tumblr chatting to people who care about her causes. I try to involve her in mine and Sam's trips out shopping, and she declines, saying she'd rather stay at home. To try and be more inclusive, I suggested she picks some activities and we'll do them with her if she doesn't like the girly activities, but Izzy will again decline, saying she'd rather hang out with people who have the same mindset as her. I tried to organize something with just me and her to do instead, so I had alone time with her just like I do for Sam, but she responded with something along the lines of "like you'd be able to understand anything I'm involved with anyway." Her most recent thing has been the Free the Nipple campaign, along with growing out her leg hair, and has been ranting at Sam for being a slave to gender stereotypes by liking dresses and boys and makeup. At our movie nights, Izzy will try and psychoanalyze the characters in all the films, even ones she's picked, and complains about the character tropes and forced romances throughout them. It's completely ruined movie nights, so last week I didn't even schedule one so I didn't have to deal with it. I know Sam is upset by all of this because she's cried to me a few times, but each time I bring it up to Izzy, she says she doesn't care and we should check our privilege. I've tried grounding. She just sat stubbornly on the floor all night, suspending her allowance. She said money doesn't control her, taking her phone away from her. She says we let technology control our lives anyway, and nothing seems to work. I hate it because I want to love my daughters equally, but I really don't like Izzy right now. She's being a bit self-righteous, policing everything her sister Sam wears/says/does, and calling her a slave. My husband seems to think it's just some silly teenage rebellious phase, and she'll calm down soon, so he's not as upset about it as I am. He also enjoys political debates with her, so he tries to take the heat away from the discussions when me or Sam are present. One time when Izzy openly called Sam subordinate arm candy when she was going out on a date, he told her she's not allowed to talk to her sister like that and she was grounded, and Izzy snapped, "Oh, now you're playing favorites too? Fuck off then," and stormed upstairs. He's been trying to talk to her calmly about her attitude and how he loves her, and he understands her side of things, but can't just be this rude to everyone. But he recently got a new project at work and has been working longest shifts, so he's not around that often. I just don't know what to do. Is this a phase? How do you even deal with this? If anything, her behavior is making me like Sam even more for being such a good kid, and so I feel like it's a never-ending cycle. I have tried to include Izzy in so many things and she just debates any topic possible, tells me all my choices are wrong. Sam will be off to uni in September and then it'll just be me and Izzy at home. How the heck do I navigate this? Too long didn't read. Youngest kid Izzy, 16 female, is very politically charged and argumentative, and I'm starting to dislike her personality. How do I get along with her and stop playing favorites? Update, 19 days later. So I know it's only been about 3 weeks since the last post. Already a lot has happened, and there's probably a lot more work to do, but I just want to thank everyone for their advice and let you know that progress has been made. Long. It was clear from all the comments that there were a few issues I had to deal with. One was to actually involve myself more in Izzy's life and interests, and 2 was to stop letting her get away with hurting Sam so much and teach her that she can't talk down at people like she is. 3 is to ride it out as much as I can and hope that she mellows out over time like a lot of commenters said they did as they aged. So the first thing I did was make a list of all the films/TV shows recommended by people here to look into, to try and find some things I can watch with Izzy to make her feel included. It was a long list, and I think we got some really good options that will appeal to the whole family. The first thing I tried out is Steven Universe, as just about everyone on here suggested it for me. Izzy actually walked in on me watching it about 5 episodes in, so much for one taster episode to see if it was any good, and sort of paused in the doorway and asked you. Actually like Steven Universe. I said one of my coworkers had recommended it as a cute show to watch, and I actually kinda love it. Oh, I wish I could have taken a picture of the smile on her face. She immediately jumped onto the sofa and started quizzing me on how far along I am, who my favorites are, if I like this show then I'll love X, and started listing off other shows, a lot of which were on my list to try out. I told her we could try all them out. I actually already have a few, and reinstate film night, but under a new condition to make sure we don't run into any issues again. I purchased some dry whiteboards and pens and proposed the following idea. During all films and TV shows, there is to be silence, as I would like to watch something without it being talked over. However, we write down questions/topics we want to talk about on the boards throughout the film. At the end of it, we designate a discussion time to talk all about it. Izzy agreed to it and said that was probably fair, so that was one win. We've had 2 film nights since then. The first one we watched was Legally Blonde, and she was constantly scribbling on the board. The discussion after went pretty well, I feel. Izzy did most of the talking about how empowering Elle Woods is, but I tried to engage her so she didn't feel like I was just glazed over and ignoring it. Sam has at this point finished her exams and took up her volunteer work pretty much full-time, so it was just me and Izzy doing this, which I thought gave some nice quality time. I tried to find some activities for us to do together that aren't hair/nails, and thought she might enjoy a hike as we live pretty close to a national park here, so I suggested that one day. I was turned down, but that's fine. I'm not expecting an immediate turnover. I'll just keep suggesting things every few days to let her know I do want to do things with her. We've been watching Orange is the New Black since that came out, along with Steven Universe and Sense8 now, so I still feel like we're making progress. Since Sam took up the extra work, she's not really in the house much anymore, so her and Izzy have clashed a lot less naturally. I still took down some of the comments you guys suggested, like how by shaming Sam for what she's wearing, is doing the opposite of feminism, but Sam actually beat me to it. So far only one has been made when Sam wore a small playsuit out one day, as it's been getting pretty warm here. Izzy said something like, "Wow, I didn't think it was possible to wear any less clothing than you normally do." Who's this for then? But before I could even say anything, Sam went, "Me, because I look damn good in it. Maybe you should try one, it's pretty empowering looking this good," and skipped out the door. I was stood in shock for a second, as Sam has never returned fire before, and kinda did the same for a second before storming off upstairs. She hasn't made another comment since then. This was shortly after my first post, and I'm not sure if it's because they just don't see each other often or was genuinely shut up by one comment from Sam. So I'm in limbo waiting for that one to come around. While taking Sam out for uni supplies one day, I asked her how she feels about Izzy's behavior, because I really don't want her to be negatively impacted by all this. She said that she gets a little upset when Iz makes the comments, but she knows that she thinks she's coming from a good place and doesn't take it to heart. She also said that Iz would probably chill out after a few years, and when she goes off to uni she'll be away from it anyway, so she's riding out the storm until September. Me and Sam aside, the new debate group I mentioned in the comments Izzy just joined has now become a big thing for her, which I also think has been mellowing her out a bit. She's been going to sessions quite regularly. I asked her if they had audiences and if I could come along sometime, and she said maybe in the future. It's new right now, so it's really just class debating. She's also become really close really fast with another girl in the group. We'll call her Anna. Apparently they take the same subjects but are in opposite classes, so they never met before this debate group. Either Anna is at our house or Izzy is at hers every day for the last 2 weeks, so I'm glad she's made a close friend she can talk to. She's barely been on her laptop since, so there's also less of the internet/Tumblr fueling her behavior. Since Anna came along, Izzy has been significantly less argumentative and rude. She's been skipping around the house in an almost dreamlike state, and it's making my heart melt to see her this happy. I suspect Anna might be slightly more than just a new friend, but I'm not going to push anything. Izzy can talk to me whenever she wants to. As for her dad, his project at work is wrapping up, so there's now less late nights and they're back to the political chit-chat over breakfast and seem as close as ever. So overall, I think things are improving. I'd like to thank everyone that took the time to comment. I read through every single one. I will continue bringing up activities and shows that you've suggested over time. I have a list saved of them all on my computer to keep asking her about. Eventually maybe Izzy will let me take her on a hike or go to see a play together. I just have to keep trying. I'll also punish her where appropriate if she calls out me or Sam for what we wear or our hobbies, because it's not okay to be rude. It's a weird line to walk right now of curbing rude comments while also suddenly making more of an effort to take part in her interests, but I think I'm giving it a good go. Too long didn't read. I'm starting to find common ground with Izzy. She's made a close friend, that is mellowing her out. The debate team has taken off and Sam is standing up for herself. It's going well so far.
Am I the a-hole for never feeling sad when my dad and his mistress had miscarriages? My dad was cheating on my mom for years without anyone knowing. She got sick when I, 18 male, was 9 and died 4 months later. When mom was so sick she was sleeping 99% of the time, my dad got more open about his affair and he had his mistress come over and introduced her to his family and friends. He never introduced her to me formally, but he never hid the fact he was dating her from me either. When my mom died he moved her in and married her. I hated the two of them for it. But it only got worse when I found out she was the mistress most of my life. They met when I was like 2 or 3. It killed me to live with them. And they started trying for kids as soon as they were married. She'd get pregnant easy enough but had so many miscarriages. I lost count of how many. She had 2 or 3 late miscarriages too, and after the second late miscarriage I remember she was crying on the couch and didn't leave the house for weeks. I ignored her and my dad didn't like that. He told me I should comfort my stepmom, which was gross because she was a mistress, not a stepmom. I said that to him and got lectured on staying out of adult business. Then I said the miscarriages were adult business and I was staying out. After one of the miscarriages they sat me down and told me it happened again and they weren't sure they could give me a sibling. I had no reaction and my dad's mistress started crying and asking where my sadness was about the loss of my baby siblings. I told her I wasn't sad and I never wanted them to have kids together. My dad spent days trying to make me take it back, but I didn't. I was around 13 or 14 then. And his wife said she couldn't be around me if I was wishing bad things on their babies, so my dad sent me to live with my uncle, bio, and aunt, through marriage. I still live with them and my cousins. I had a limited relationship with my dad. He got in touch with me a few weeks ago and said he and his mistress never got to have that baby they wanted. I didn't express any sympathy or pretend I cared. He said I still didn't feel sad about the death of all the babies, he called them my siblings, and I was honest about it. I told him he was a cheater, she was a mistress, I didn't want them to have a kid together. He called me heartless and said I needed to work on being a human because babies dying is sad and those were my siblings whether I liked their existence or not, and feeling no sadness was inhuman. I don't think there's anything wrong with me feeling this way, my therapist doesn't either. She told me some of my more extreme anger wasn't healthy, but that not feeling attached to the miscarriages wasn't a bad thing. Does it make me an a-hole though?
Am I the a-hole for excluding my autistic child from a family vacation? I'm using a throwaway. I, 40 female, and my husband, 40 male, have 3 kids. Their ages are 11, 9, and 6. This about my 6-year-old son. We have been planning for a family vacation for a while, and this time decided not to include him and have his grandparents care for him for a week. The reason we are excluding him. Last year, we went on a family vacation, and he hated every bit of it and kept throwing tantrums and having meltdowns because things were different from what he was used to. He even ran off multiple times in the hotel, so we had to spend half the day looking for him. Due to this, we couldn't do most of the activities we had planned, and our 2 other children were also disappointed due to this. This time, we wanted to go to a similar place, mostly since we couldn't enjoy it last time, and we decided for his sake that it was best to leave him with his grandparents for a week so that his routine isn't majorly disrupted. My son has autism and struggles to adjust with changes and has meltdowns if anything goes differently. Since it was a different place, his safe foods weren't available either, and those that were available didn't taste the same, so he refused to eat them. The only things he could eat were packaged snacks, and since we didn't have anything else, he had to live off them the whole time. We had to cancel most of our plans because he would throw tantrums and have meltdowns very often. When we told our older children about our upcoming trip, our 9-year-old started crying and saying he didn't want to go because of what happened last time. And our 11-year-old also said she wanted to stay with her grandparents. When I told them their brother would stay with their grandparents, they actually seemed relieved and excited. When we told our 6-year-old, he did not take it well and said how it was unfair. I reminded him of what happened last time, and he promised to behave. But really, I don't want to make him miserable and the rest of miss out on the trip due to him. I feel like it's best for everyone, including him, that he doesn't come. This is where I'm conflicted on our decision. I mentioned in a support forum for parents with autistic kids about leaving him behind and got so many comments calling me cruel and heartless, and that he deserves better parents. I even told his counselor about this, and even she told me that I was wrong and that I should instead make accommodations. But I don't understand how I can make reasonable accommodations while enjoying the trip. The only place I know he won't be miserable is at home. We have visited relatives' homes before, and he had meltdowns at things there, and even damaged their property. Edit. As suggested by a lot of the comments, we are planning a separate, smaller vacation just for him.
Trigger warning, miscarriage. My husband 36 male and I 32 female just had a miscarriage, and now our families are in conflict. What would you do? After 3 years of trying and while awaiting our last investigation before starting fertility treatments, my partner 35 male and I 32 female got our first positive pregnancy test. We were so happy and so excited and had been waiting for this for so long. We had an early private scan and saw our miracle baby at about 6 weeks. We told our families around 8 weeks because we just couldn't wait to share the good news. I was 10 weeks on Friday and my family had come to visit as I'd planned to get everyone together to celebrate my brother passing his final exams and graduating from uni. I'd been running around getting things ready for a big meal on Saturday where my in-laws were coming, and it would be the first time both our families were together due to some problems that happened before my husband and I got married 4 years ago. His parents didn't want him to marry me due to cultural differences and they didn't come to our wedding. We've since made up and things have been cool between us, but my dad and his dad have never met in person. On Friday, after a last-minute IKEA/Costco run, I went to the toilet and had a tiny amount of spotting and some more on wiping. I felt absolutely fine otherwise and didn't have any cramps. I wasn't immediately worried because I know this is common and I have a known ectropion on my cervix, so I assumed it was just that. I spoke to my sister about it. For context, she's an OBS and gynae consultant, and she told me it was probably nothing but just to call the early pregnancy unit for reassurance. I called and they told me to come in for a scan an hour and a half later, and my sister went with me. I didn't tell my husband at that point because he was at work and I didn't want to worry him, and I expected things to be okay and would just bring back a new scan picture of our baby and explain later. My sister went in with me, and when the nurse was scanning me she took way too long and didn't turn the screen around. I keep replaying her next words to me, "I'm sorry, it's not good news." She then showed me my baby, who stopped progressing at 9 weeks and was still with no heartbeat. I broke down and it all felt like a nightmare. I then had to go back home where my family was, and my sister told them the news. I waited until my husband came home from work to tell him in person. He was devastated, but we comforted each other and accepted what happened. The nurse told me the baby's tummy looked abnormal, so it was likely there was a problem that meant he or she wouldn't have been able to survive, and there was nothing either of us could have done differently. To make things worse, the next day all hell broke loose. My husband had spent the night with his parents who live 15 minutes away, which had always been the plan due to lack of space and my family traveling from different cities. He told his parents the day after we found out, which was the day they were meant to come and meet my parents for the first time. He broke down when he told them. I have never seen my husband cry before, and neither had his parents, excluding when he was a child. At that point he decided that it was all too painful and fresh for him and for me too, and that he would prefer for everyone to meet under better circumstances. He came back home and asked me to get my mom and sisters in the room so he could speak to us. At this point I was hearing it for the first time too. He expressed how he was feeling and got very emotional and just said that after everything that happened in the past he wanted our parents' meeting to be a happy occasion, and that because of what we were going through he asked them not to come over and that we could save it for another time and meet under better circumstances. He left the room and I followed him and we talked and cried together. My mom came and knocked on the door upset and said we are all supposed to be one big family and we should all be dealing with this together, and that because my husband doesn't feel that way it means he doesn't see us as one, and said they were gonna pack the car up and drive back to Scotland immediately. I went and sat her down and tried to reason with her and explain what he was feeling. My parents are very religious stoic people who feel like when bad things happen they are a test and you should be grateful and find meaning in the bad things and move on without dwelling too much. I explained we had already accepted everything but we are still grieving. It had barely been 24 hours and I am still carrying our baby who is no longer alive. I'm allowed to be as sad as I want for as long as I want. Both my parents were saying yes, we are all sad about what happened, but we came all this way and feel like no matter what we should still have had this meeting and dealt with this as a big family. I spent the whole day going back and forth between both sides trying to figure out how to create peace between everyone. One of my sisters was the only one who really understood the whole situation and said if she has just lost a baby there would be no way she would handle hosting people and just carrying on. My husband ended up trying to make peace, and me and him went to speak to my parents to clear the air. It was not very productive as everyone had their own opinions which they were not willing to change. My husband went to the gym to cool off and just have some space, and then his mom called my mom. For context, our moms have met a couple times and have spoken on the phone a number of times too. My mom expressed how upset she was that they weren't coming to meet us all, especially as the dads have never met. While my husband was at the gym his parents called him and said they were going to come over to our house to meet my parents, and said how upset my mom was over it all. They came, they met, everyone got along very well and they laughed and joked. My husband wasn't there and he felt betrayed because it felt like everything he had expressed didn't matter. Now he is upset at my parents because he feels they didn't respect his wishes. My parents are still upset about his opinions and actions over it all. Everyone has left now and I'm left feeling stuck in the middle, feeling forced to take sides when I don't even have the emotional capacity to even think about who I think was wrong. Everything overshadowed what actually happened to me and my husband, and how I'm grieving the loss of this baby that we wished and prayed for so long. Too long, didn't read. After our miscarriage, my husband wants to postpone our parents' first meeting, but my mom feels hurt and insists they should still meet to support us. I feel stuck between both sides.
Am I the a-hole for not supporting my ex-husband and his wife after their many years of infertility? I, 30s, have 3 children with my ex-husband Nick, 30s. Aged 13, 12 and 9. We separated, later divorcing, when our youngest was only 4 months old. We divorced because Nick confessed he didn't love me and he married me because I was pregnant with our oldest. He had been unable to develop any real feelings for me and could not pretend any longer because he felt his unhappiness was growing by the day. I bring this up because I believe his lack of true feelings for me has led to him seeing me as unimportant and disposable to our kids. The reason I feel like this is because of his and his wife Haley's, 30s, treatment of me. We had been divorced for a number of weeks when Nick started bringing Haley to our kids' school events. We met at a school play and they commented that Haley was getting ready for her role as a new mom. I thought they meant she was pregnant, but no, they meant she would be mom to my kids. Haley wanted to hold my youngest and Nick told me they needed some mother/son bonding because she had not met the kids by this point. Within weeks of this they wanted me to delegate some tasks to Haley. Like school pickup and drop off or taking the oldest to dance. My kids barely knew her. They were not living together at this point. And Nick told me it was important to make space for Haley as a mom. I told him she would be a stepmom, but I am their mom. Nick's response was at their house Haley would be mom and the kids could do with a mom and dad parental unit instead of divorced parents. He said he knew Haley would be a better mom than I ever could be. Afterward, Haley would call me a BTCH whenever she saw me because I said she would be stepmom and not mom. She said I was so insecure if I couldn't handle taking second place to her. Nick took me back to court to ask for primary/full custody and was denied. I went back with proof they were trying to push me out. Nick even tried to remove me from the school contact list and put Haley on there instead of me. This was all before they married. Nick was removed from legal decision-making after that stunt, and he was told to be careful with how they approached parents-teacher conferences and doctor's appointments because they had to share all that with me. So they did, but it came with hostility. And then when they finally got married, they booked a date that fell on my parenting time, and after back and forth the kids were not at their wedding because I was expected to give up a week with my kids and not get it back so they could be with them for the wedding and initially after the wedding. Nick tried to bring the courts into it to take custody from me, but the judge said I had been reasonable in my offers for compromise and Nick rejected them. The kids call her Haley. This bothers Nick and Haley, and they prefer me to the two of them, which they have tried to say is because of alienation and not because they put the kids in the middle when they try to encourage them to call Haley mom, or when they say the kids should tell me they want to spend Mother's Days with Haley and not me. Apparently they were trying to have children together for several years. I'm not sure her diagnosis, but Nick said she's sterile and then said infertile. But they are not able to have biological children together. Nick told me all this via our co-parenting app and requested a month with the kids for them to go and visit Haley's family in Canada. I said no. Nick pushed and I forwarded the details of our parenting time split and the wording to say neither parent is obligated to give time up. I saw them in person last week at a show for my youngest. The kids didn't hug Haley, and Nick and Haley then accused me of not being supportive of them and Haley's relationship with the kids. And that all those years of infertility should have helped me find some compassion and understanding and make me willing to help them. I dismissed it. I don't feel like I owe them this. I just want to check if people think I have behaved improperly. Legally, I am A-OK. This is not asking for legal advice. Am I the a-hole?
30 female and 27 female, dating a year. I might have made the biggest mistake in the relationship. How can we bounce back? I accidentally gave my girlfriend's 20-year-old cat an early dose of her medication. Immediately, the cat threw up and had diarrhea. I was open and honest when she asked if I gave her an early dose. We rushed the cat to the animal hospital an hour away. I drove while she called animal poison control. Everything seemed okay, and they kept the cat for observation. Blood work showed that her potassium and creatinine levels had dropped in comparison to 4 months prior, which was due to aging. The cat had to be euthanized due to the amount of stress she was put under the next. My partner had me pack up a couple of weeks' worth of clothes so that she could take some time to grieve. I'm staying with family until she reaches out. She let me know that she still loved me, but needed time alone to grieve the loss of her best friend. She didn't want me around because she didn't want to take her anger out on me. It's been hard on me because I loved that cat. I feel like we won't be able to get through this. I did ask her if she would ever forgive me, but she responded that she isn't thinking about our relationship and that my mistake cost her her best friend. It's been about 2 weeks since I've seen her or heard her voice. It was a mistake that I will forever regret, but I'm holding on in hopes that we can repair this. Update 1. I appreciate all of the support and kindness in this community. I asked for closure, but instead I was told I murdered her cat and that the cat died for nothing. That was my closure. I'm working on rebuilding. Update 2. A month ago, I posted a situation with my partner about her cat passing away. I've tried to ask her where we stand with the relationship. I packed all of my things from the house and put them in my car. First, she said that she couldn't bear to speak to me, let alone see me. I reached out when I was struggling with my emotions and health, but she told me that it's not about me, and right now, she can't be there for me emotionally. She rescued a kitten, and I commented. We spoke about the kitten, and then I asked if I could talk to her about our relationship. She came up with numerous excuses. I expressed my emotions about the situation and told her that I need to know where we stand. She insulted me by telling me I murdered her cat and that she died for nothing. That was my closure. I wasn't able to give her the birthday gift, and she held it against me that I didn't wish her a happy birthday, but I did on Snapchat. I tried.
My deadbeat dad abandoned 2 more kids and his ex wants me to help, but I said no. Am I the a-hole? My dad, aka deadbeat, was never very present in my life. He left my mom when she got pregnant with me and tried to sleep with her occasionally, even though she always turned him down. It was the only reason I have any memories of him from the time she was alive. He never cared about me, which is why mom always told him where to go. He built up tens of thousands in child support too because he refused to pay most of the time and found ways to stop it being taken directly from him. My mom died when I was 6 and my maternal grandparents took me in. I didn't see deadbeat for several years. Then when I was 10 or 11 he showed up for a minute and asked for a DNA test again. One had to be done when I was a baby to get him on my birth certificate. My grandparents said as long as he paid for the DNA test he could have one. He left because he wanted them to pay. He showed back up a couple of years ago with a wife and a young kid, and his wife was pregnant. Deadbeat didn't care much that they lived nearby, but his wife was like, "Oh, we're family now and you should know your half siblings." I was like, "Nah thanks," and she tried to get my grandparents on side, but they were like, "Nah thanks." Deadbeat took off on her and those kids 6 months ago. She stayed in place and tried to reach out to me for help and for me to form a relationship with her kids. I told her I wasn't helping her. I wasn't interested in a relationship with her kids. My grandparents suggested she move close to her family if she wanted her kids to have more than her. But she didn't, and she keeps reaching out and asking me to play some sort of role in her kids' lives. She also keeps asking me for help. She said even 6 hours of babysitting a week would make a huge difference to her and she could better provide for her kids. When I didn't say yes after she asked again and again, she asked me if I was really so indifferent that I wouldn't like to know my own siblings who share my DNA and were dropped just like me. I asked her why she was so sure they were the only ones. I told her he could have a million kids out there and I just don't care. I said the only DNA that counts for me is my mom's DNA. She asked me how I'd feel if she lost their home and struggled to feed them, and I said it would be sad because kids don't deserve to be hungry, but it would be no more or less sad than it happening to any kid. She said at 17 I'm almost a man and I'm not turning into a very good one. That's the point where I blocked her and I speed walk into the house or away if she approaches me in person. My grandparents told her not to show up again or the cops would be called. So far that seems to have worked. I don't feel bad about it, but I guess it did make me question if maybe some part of me is the a-hole for refusing to help or be in those kids' lives. To me it seems crazy to go off deadbeat's DNA, but I know that matters to a lot of people. Am I the a-hole?
Am I the a-hole for taking away my husband from my mother-in-law? I, 36 female, have been married to my husband, 40 male, for 5 years. Relevant information. We've known each other since I was 16 and he was 20. I'd met his mom a few times in my 20s. He was married once before. He has 4 kids from that previous marriage. We have one of our own together. I was a bridesmaid in his first wedding and I used to be his babysitter. I know what you're thinking. Relax. We did not cheat. His ex-wife, whom we'll call Vanessa, cheated numerous times, gave him the same STD twice, and was absolutely horrible to my husband's mom. They were separated for about 2 years and finalized their divorce a bit before COVID happened. Then we reconnected, started dating, got engaged, and got married by the end of the year just before COVID went full-blown. My mother-in-law has always shown my husband to be her favorite of the 2 kids that she has. Oh, I love my son. He is such a good man. Too good for that devil woman, Vanessa. How handsome and amazing my son is. If you asked about her daughter Lila, my mother-in-law's response would be, "Oh yeah, I love my daughter too. She's crazy. Very crazy. But let me tell you about my son because how I love my son." Considering how bats my sister-in-law actually is, it's unsurprising. We're no contact with sister-in-law. But statements like this weren't just made verbally, they're in mother-in-law's messages to my husband too. "Hello, my love. I love you so much. The longer we're apart, the more my love grows for you. Tell me, my darling, are you free later today? I miss you so much, my heart just aches. I need to see your face, hear your voice. Only then will my heart stop hurting. My mother-in-law and I were super close until this past summer. My husband is active duty military and got a new position as a recruiter. We were looking at two specific states, Colorado, where I was born, and Boston, Massachusetts. My mother-in-law and my husband's family are spread out among Connecticut and Rhode Island. I really wanted to go back to Colorado, but I understood how badly my husband wanted to be closer to his family. He made sacrifices and adjustments for me, including letting my disabled mom live with us, so of course I was willing to hold off on going back to Colorado for a few years for my husband. I started looking into schools and saw that Massachusetts as a whole is #1 in America for education, so I was extremely thrilled about that. Started looking up different things to do around Massachusetts, including awesome theme parks, restaurants, pools, rage rooms, art expos, concert halls, and things for teens/kids to do in Boston as well as Salem. I was actually really looking forward to going to the shop in Salem where you can make your own broom. However, during this past summer, we saw images of families being ripped apart in Boston by ICE, kids being taken from their parents, and innocent people being subjected to violence and brutality. While my husband was born in Washington, D.C., his mom came here illegally from El Salvador. She has since gotten her citizenship, but as we've all seen on the news in various locations around the country, especially in places like Boston and Florida, ICE does not care if you're a citizen or not. If you don't look like an Anglo-Saxon, they're going to take you. Where we were in Arizona was becoming dangerous, and my husband and I had to make and put in place specific plans in order to protect him and my daughter. For example, my husband was not allowed to take my daughter anywhere by himself without me. If he was pulled over for any reason and I wasn't with him, he was to call me, put me on speaker and screen record. He was not to hand anybody his IDs, including his military ID. He was to give them his DOD number or his social because we've heard of cases where they've snatched IDs and thrown them away and declared the person had no identification, so they must be illegal. Every day he had to leave the house to go to work on base. I was terrified. I didn't know if him being in uniform would help my husband if he were to get pulled over or hinder him. Got so bad that whenever we were out, if I saw Border Patrol, I would immediately latch onto my husband and suck in a breath out of pure fear. Please bear in mind, while my husband's father is Spaniard and they tend to fare on the light side, my husband favors his mother with darker skin, as is seen in those from El Salvador. When he speaks, he sounds like the epitome of an American man. His own mom calls him her little gringo, but when you're looking at him, it's very obvious he's Latino. Taking into consideration the safety of our family as a whole, we decided it was best to wait to move to Boston and to move to Colorado instead. My husband finalized this decision. A few days later, my husband was on the phone with his mom and told her we had changed plans to move to Colorado. We told her we'd been looking into Boston over Denver, and my mother-in-law went off. "What do you mean you're moving to Colorado?" "Absolutely not. You are moving to Boston. That is final." My husband told his mom that I had always wanted to go back to Colorado, and after being stuck in Alabama and then Arizona for the last 5 years, he wanted to thank me by bringing me back home. My mother-in-law started shrieking about how I am exactly like his ex-wife, wanting to take husband away from mommy and go to Colorado. Let me be very clear. The only reason his ex-wife Vanessa wanted to take their family and move to Colorado was because I had mentioned it before. Vanessa was very much that fake friend that wants to copy you all while talking crap behind your back and taking things from you. She's tried stealing my clothes, my books, barged into my house without an invitation to borrow a video game I'd been playing, and back when she was pregnant with baby number 2, I made the mistake of stating I wanted to name my daughter Ariel because my dad and I loved watching The Little Mermaid together before my dad died, and so to honor his memory, I was gonna name my child Ariel. If I ever had a girl, her nickname would be Ari. Suddenly, she tells my now husband how she wants to name her child Ariel if it's a girl and nickname her Ari. I was naive and didn't know the rule about not sharing baby names at the time. My husband tried to explain all of this to his mom, but she was having none of it. All my mother-in-law kept screaming was, "These women all want to take you away from me." They're jealous. Jealous of my love for you. Of the love we share. If that's making you raise your brows, here's a few of the other things she's said to me about my husband. He is so handsome, I know he makes a good husband. I've had husbands and my son is so much better than them and more handsome. Be good to my son, OP, because I know he's good at everything. I know he's a good lover. Not from experience, but I know he's a good lover. It's been years since my husband's divorce from his ex-wife, but my mother-in-law still seems to be traumatized from all the things Vanessa did. At every turn she found a way to bring up Vanessa, including at our wedding. Vanessa was a vicious little hussy, didn't appreciate how good of a man my son is. She went on a rant for about 15 minutes and then finally caught herself, slapped her hand over her mouth and said, "I'm so sorry. I hope I didn't just talk you out of marrying my son." She obviously didn't, but I won't lie, it was a little off-putting. Still, I gave mother-in-law grace. However, this wasn't the only time her bottle of trauma leaked out. When we found out I was pregnant, she brought up Vanessa. When I was in labor, she brought up Vanessa. After Ari was born and she came down to visit and help out our newborn, she brought up Vanessa. To my mom, she said, "Is breastfeeding to help OP lose weight? I don't want her to stay fat like Vanessa." Believe me when I say I have told both my husband and my mother-in-law directly that therapy would do mother-in-law some serious good. There's a saying amongst the psychological community that we tell patients and people we care about going through something difficult long-term. If your trauma begins to leak out into social situations, it's time for an appointment. But this isn't the only thing about my mother-in-law that I feel requires therapeutic attention. Whenever something or someone bothers her, she cannot let it go. She won't respect boundaries, even my husband's. My husband specifically told her after the first big blow-up back in July to leave me alone and to not call me or bother me about going to Colorado, and the very next day my mother-in-law called me behind my husband's back. My daughter was in the bath, so I didn't accept the FaceTime request, but still had my daughter say hi. My mother-in-law immediately brought up Colorado and told me, "I need you to do something for me. I want you to call my son and tell him you're going to move to Boston." When I told mother-in-law I couldn't do that, she said I had to because you owe me. I help you when you guys struggle. And I want to help you guys buy a house, but I'm not helping you buy a house in Colorado. For the record, I've never wanted her to help us buy a house. I actually am strongly against that, and I'm against borrowing money from family or friends because I feel people, especially if it's family, use that against you and hold it over your head. And as you can see with her saying, "I've helped you when you struggle," I have no doubt that her helping us buy a house would escalate this kind of crap tenfold. I told her, "While that's generous of you to offer, we don't want you to help." Her response? "No, I'm going to help you, but I'm not helping you while you're in Colorado. Why are you trying to be like Vanessa? Why are you taking my son from me?" I had to reiterate that while I am the one who suggested Colorado, it was my husband's final say in the matter. I also explained that Colorado was my home, it's where I was born. It's where my dad died. It's where my best memories from childhood took place. Okay, I get that, but why are you taking my son from me? Why are you insisting on being like Vanessa? After an hour of repetitively explaining that Vanessa had no identity and was a thief of dreams and personalities, that we were planning on moving to Boston still in 3 years, and that I had actual ties to Colorado, his mom finally gave it a rest, saying she felt a little better. Well, that lasted a total of 4 hours. After that, she was back on the phone with my husband telling him how jealous I am of her love for him. I told my husband exactly what my mother-in-law had said, calling him the second she and I hung up the phone together. He was really mad that she deliberately disobeyed him and went behind his back. I told him every single insult that she threw my way. He confronted her and she originally owned up to it, saying, "Oh, does OP not love me anymore? P, does she still love me?" Which my husband said, "Yes, she still loves you, but you cannot talk to her like that." Then she did a 180 and completely denied ever saying anything rude to me. She even called me randomly to declare she never did anything wrong and that she never said any of the things that I was telling my husband. I've dealt with gaslighting before, so I told her my memory was not up for debate, that she was very rude and that she owed me an apology. She declared that I was treating her just like her daughter Lila treats her, and that she wasn't apologizing for anything because she didn't do anything wrong. She then hung up on me after I started reinforcing my boundaries and getting firm with her. What she didn't know was that my husband was right next to me and heard everything because I had it on speaker. She called him right after she hung up on me and tried to spin the story in her favor, and I told my husband he needed to let her know that he was present and that she owes me an apology. He did exactly as I asked, and she did message me on Facebook with what I can only describe as a solid attempt at apologizing. I told her when I wrote back that I accepted her apology and I laid out all of the things that she had said that hurt my feelings. Why did they hurt my feelings and why it was important for her to see I'm not like her daughter and I'm not like Vanessa. I even went online and found pictures of my family's old house in Denver along with some pictures of my dad and my grandma, sending them to my mother-in-law not just as proof that I have a connection to Colorado but as something intimate and very dear to me that I wanted to share with her. Well, her attempt at an apology and making peace was definitely insincere and fake because she left me on read, called my husband, and complained that I was gloating about Colorado. I showed my husband exactly what I had said, and he corrected his mom, to which she asked snidely, "Okay, well, is the house still there? It's still standing? Then what's the problem?" My husband tried again to explain why this house meant so much to me, but Mel blew up again, screaming once again about how I am taking her son away from her and how she never wants to see me or hear anything about Colorado ever again. But of course, it doesn't stop there. Nearly every single week she would call and pick a fight with my husband. When we finally moved to Colorado, whenever my husband started speaking to her, she would speak in a dull, monotone, sad, lethargic voice. "Oh, hi, my beloved. Oh, that's good. I'm just missing you so much. Dramatic sigh. My heart wouldn't be so broken if you were in Boston, but I guess you won't reconsider moving there. Close to me." Case shaky voice and another sigh. "Hi, is OP there?" "Well, I don't want to speak to her. That red-headed demon took you from me. Sniffles, your devil ex-wife, was jealous of us too, remember?" Cries delicately. Now, to my husband's credit, he has put her in her place every single time she tries to badmouth me. My mother-in-law brought up how I didn't allow that one FaceTime call, saying I was keeping Ariel from her. I beg your finest pardon. My 5-year-old child was naked in the bathtub and you're mad I didn't let you see her? That's not just weird, that's downright creepy. It's also complete bullshit because I told her my daughter was in the tub. Not to mention my daughter still said hi. My husband said immediately that this was not me keeping Ari from her and that she was in the wrong, especially when she called and spoke to me about Colorado after her. My husband specifically stated for mother-in-law not to do that, but that there was no need or reason for FaceTime to be used when our 5-year-old was naked in the bath. He's also told her to stop talking about me if she can't talk about me nicely. He went as far as going low contact temporarily with mother-in-law because he was so angry at how horribly she was talking about me and treating me. I made it very clear that I did not want her around for the holidays. This is how she was going to act, and my husband agreed without hesitation. He has told Emil that if she's going to continue acting like this and bad-mouthing me and talking so depressed whenever they're on the phone, that he wasn't going to talk to her anymore until she grows up and apologizes. He also made sure to say that the only one who still thinks about Vanessa in any capacity is mother-in-law. My darling husband made it explicitly clear that he has forgotten that marriage and relationship because dwelling on the negativity serves no purpose, especially when he is so happy now in the marriage that he has with me. He reminds his mom how I take care of him, the house, making sure to cook, clean, take care of all 5 kids, my mom, our 4 dogs, 5 cats, and the chinchilla my husband is freaked out by, all while I go to work and attend grad school. Vanessa never did anything, and I remember from seeing it myself how horrible their old condo was. It was in complete disarray, absolute chaos. She was in the same clothes every single day, never cooked, and was already talking divorce just 3 days after she and my now husband had gotten married all those years ago. She never bought him things he was in need of, example, new shoes, never surprised him with anything, never got presents for mother-in-law. If it wasn't about Nessa, it didn't matter. However, I do all of that. Not because I feel I have to, but because I genuinely want to and enjoy doing so. I pick out presents with care and thought, and I put all of my kids' names on the gifts. If it's Mother's Day, I will put my husband's name on the gift. I sent gifts from my mom to Emil or to the kids, etc., and I leave myself off because I don't see a need to boast or gloat. And even though my husband got fed up and actually told her I've been the one behind all the surprises and presents this whole time, my mother-in-law is determined to rope me into the same category as Vanessa. Well, if she really wasn't like Vanessa, you'd be living in Boston and I'd be able to visit. Instead, that woman took you from me. I will be honest, everyone, the way she talks about my husband comes off incestuous. And she's so manipulative, using the sad and depressed voice and fake crying fits to try and guilt my husband into moving to Boston. Hubby agreed the voice is manipulative. My husband recently snapped at her and said he wished he'd never told her where we were moving and that he should have just lied and said the military was making us go to Colorado. Even with my husband saying this, she still didn't change her monotonous tone when she called. The only thing that did snap her out of it, for now at least, was the fact that IC has been trying to get into the grand establishment she works at. She went from scoffing at the idea of citizens being taken illegally, which was a huge factor in our decision to not move to Boston, if you remember, to now being afraid every time she clocks out from work. Security has kept ICE out, but they keep sending more and more agents every day. Both my husband and I are terrified and worried for mother-in-law's safety, and I was more than willing to put our argument aside to tell her to be careful and that we all love her. Guess what changed all of that this week? Even with the threat of something happening to her, she's still refusing to speak to me or even discuss the topic of me because she's still mad at me for taking her baby from her. So I'm officially done, I'm fed the fuck up, and I think I'll be staying no contact with mother-in-law. I really am going to keep Ari from her now. Not out of a vindictive mood, but because psychologically speaking, if my mother-in-law were to badmouth me to my daughter, it would create internal conflict as well as confusion, along with harming my daughter, Em.
Thanks for listening. Like, comment, and subscribe.